Hi everybody, Chris Gibson from chrisgibsongolf.com here. Following on from our golf clubs and what sort of golf clubs you should have as a beginner, we're going to go through some of the basics now in relationship to what you need to know about hitting a golf ball as such. So when you first play this game, there's all of these different golf clubs as we talked about previously in other videos. If you haven't watched those videos, you can go back to my timeline and have a look at those videos in the beginners section. And we go through what the loft is, what the shaft is, what the grip is, the different parts of the head, and also what kind of golf clubs you should have. So following on from that, it's what we need to do to be able to hit a golf ball. There's a skill set that some players have out there that have developed and been able to work very hard, and they've started off in the same place that you may be starting off right now watching this video. And we look at what are those fundamentals, what are those basics. Basics are the things that we need to be able to do to be able to hit a golf ball. So first and foremost, what does the grip look like? We're going to have our hands as close as we possibly can together. Now there's three variations to grips, so I'm not that worried about which one you use per se. So the concept of getting them as close as we possibly can together is always going to be my first priority. So the left hand, we generally speaking put on the golf club first. You'll see the toe of the golf club pointing directly up to the sky. I want that at about a 90-degree angle perpendicular to the ground, and then I'm going to place your left hand on top of that, and what will end up happening is your left thumb will point to the slightly off kilter, off to the side of the golf club, to the right side as I look at it, and we will have the ability to be able to do that. So essentially just hang on with my forefinger and the pad of my left hand. It will go across your hand this way, and then we'll grab hold of the golf club from there. Now, coming back to something that we talked in another video of the different sizes of grips. If we find that I can't get anywhere near that and my fingers are somewhere around here, well then we've probably got a grip that's too big. Vice versa, if I find that I'm gripping and I've got my fingers hitting my palms of my hands, I've probably got a grip that's too thin. So have a look at that, allow your coach to look at that and then recommend something there, an appropriate size grip for you. So once we've got that, we can then just place the other hand down on top, and the lifeline in your right hand for us right-handers, or the trail hand I'll call it, the lifeline in the trail hand will generally speaking sit on top of the thumb in the lead hand, so my left hand. So I can grip it with the 10 fingers. There's been plenty of good tour players that have won that way. Then I've got another grip where I can interlock them, which is most of the time what people when they first start playing this game will do. And then the other is just an overlap where the pinky finger in my trail hand, my right hand, sits on top or in between the index finger and the next finger along in my left hand. So that's a grip that I can hinge. I can do this. It's just nice and strong, and I've got a grip of the golf club without strangling it. So it's going to be firm. If somebody pulled the golf club, it would come out if they pulled it hard enough. But generally speaking, I can hang on to that. It's nice and soft. I'm not going to death grip it. I'm not going to see white knuckles and my shoulders tighten up and so on and so forth. That allows us then, if we come back to an old, what I first got taught how to play, is there's a V that's created by my thumb and my palm. That V will generally speaking point into my right shoulder, between my right cheek and my right shoulder. If we had a preference, it would be a little bit stronger. So that's what we call a strong grip, not the actual grip pressure, but the actual where the V points into my right shoulder, and then the other V will point somewhere there as well. So then from there, once I've got this, I feel quite comfortable, I can basically just bend from the waist and let it drop to the ground. That will allow us into a nice comfortable position so we can rotate properly. My feet are roughly about shoulder width apart, allowing me for good balance. If I have them too far apart, I won't be able to rotate properly. And if I have them too close with a fuller swing in particular, I may not be able to keep my balance. So that's this to start with. And
we're going to drop this particular 7-iron. It's going to be slightly forward of centre and of the stance, and then you'll notice that the butt of the golf club, the end of the golf club, will point into my left groin. And that's roughly, it doesn't have to be exact, but that will give you a basis to then be able to tilt your body. Why do we tilt our body in that scenario? Because my right hand is lower than my left on the golf club. So therefore, I'm going to have a little tilt this way to allow me to be able to let my arms hang and still grip the golf club without having to distort my body to adjust for the other hand being higher than the other. Yeah? So once we've got that, then we're able to then free our body up and rotate. Now, when you first start playing the game, and as this video is for beginners, we would love to see you just be able to rotate. Just turn. Rotate, then rotate. We really don't need to see you do much else. Just feel as though your rib cage turns away and your rib cage will turn through. The rest of your body will follow. At this point in time, we'll talk about leading from the ground and working up later on as you become a little bit more skilled at this. My feet are shoulder width apart. You'll also notice that my toes are pointing slightly out to allow, if I do this, I find it very difficult to rotate. If my toes are slightly out, I can then be able to turn properly. So let's get into then what I should be looking at in relationship to a posture. And this is a generalization. So it's going to allow you to get into a solid posture to start with. There will be very, very specific things that will happen for each athlete, for each player, and that's for your coach to then go and say, yes, well, you will need to do this. Now, take the golf club, the butt of the golf club, which is this end, put it underneath your lip, press it to your chest and your stomach, and then bend from the waist, and then from there, just drop your right hand down and just above the tendon on your knee here. That's a good posture. That's a solid posture. Some of us may not be able to get into an athletic posture. We may have a little rounding out of our shoulders, basically because of life, sitting behind a desk too long, so on and so forth. That's not a big issue from my point of view. We'll work with what your body is capable of working with. We certainly don't want the opposite of extension of your spine. So your spine starts to reverse this way. That will give you some really big troubles later on in life. But we can just stand there in a nice, balanced, stable position. The weight, therefore, should be roughly on the balls of my feet, across the ball of my feet through here. If I sit too far back, I will then want to move forward in my golf swing, and if it's too far forward, I'll lose my balance and I'll want to move back in my golf swing. So just a nice, balanced, there we go, right there. Then, as I just did then, drop your arms down with the golf club, and that's a good balanced position to be in. So that's the start. With other golf clubs, it will change. The ball position will move slightly more forward to the target, and with specific shots that we'll play later on, it may move back in our stance as well. Very rarely does it move further back than that. It will always move forward, generally speaking, just as a basic generalization to get you started. Let's recap. The grip, left hand, thumb pointing just down the side. My particular grips have a little logo on it that I put down to the side. Other hand sits on top. We're going to get into a position with our feet shoulder width apart, the toes slightly turned out, nice and balanced this way, and the end of the golf club pointing into my left groin. Just forward to centre, so therefore I'm nice and balanced, and I can move around. I don't necessarily want to move side to side, but I can move around quite nicely. Once we've got that, we're going to drop the golf club for a second, and we're going to go through a drill that's going to help you with good rotation. So if you can get yourself in front of a window or a mirror, or use the sun behind you and your shadow, it's essentially, we're going to get into that same position, and all I'm going to ask you to do is rotate. And we're going to try and keep nice and stable. Yeah? We don't want too much lateral movement. We can have a little bit of lateral movement. We want it to be dynamic. We want it to be moving into your trail foot and then into your lead foot. but we don't want to move it too much with that upper body. And the basics from that, I always liken it to, if we move the hub, if we move this backwards and forwards, we will change where we hit the ground quite dramatically. So if I can get you just to rotate, that's all I'm interested in right now. As I said, as we develop our skill set and we strike the ground in the same place each time, we can then add more to that and layer that on. But right now, those basics of getting yourself set up properly, getting you moving properly, that's all I'm interested in right now. So, once again, Chris Gibson from chrisgibsongolf.com. If you found this video helpful, please share it with one of your friends. Please like my YouTube channel or subscribe to my YouTube channel and like this video. Look forward to talking to you soon. Take care.